Ambassador Sarah Chun stood in the center of the Galactic Assembly Hall, her back straight and her dark eyes calm. Around her, thousands of alien representatives filled the massive chamber. The ceiling stretched so high it seemed to disappear into darkness. Strange lights floated in the air, casting shadows that moved like living things. The Vorthan representative slammed his tentacle on the podium. His voice boomed through the translator systems. The humans have gone too far this time. They refuse to share their technology. They ignore our trade regulations. They act like they own the galaxy. Sarah didn't flinch. She had expected this. For months, tensions had been building between Earth and the other species in the Galactic Federation. Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 50 years, but in that time, they had changed everything. Ambassador Chun, the Vorthan continued, his three eyes focusing on her. What does Earth have to say about these accusations? Sarah walked to the speaking platform. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. Every eye, tentacle, and sensor in the room turned toward her. She touched the communication device on her collar, making sure her words would be translated correctly. Distinguished members of the Galactic Assembly, she began, her voice steady and clear. Earth has heard your complaints. We understand your concerns, but we will not apologize for our success. A wave of angry murmurs swept through the hall. The Zealoty delegation rattled their scales in displeasure. The crystalline prisms hummed at frequencies that made Sarah's teeth ache. Let me remind this assembly, Sarah continued, raising her voice slightly, that when humanity joined the Federation, we were told we were primitive. You said our technology was centuries behind. You laughed at our ships. You mocked our weapons. You called us the ape species and bet on how long we would survive. The murmurs grew quieter. Some representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. In 50 years, we proved you wrong. Our scientists decoded technologies you said would take us millennia to understand. Our engineers built ships that outrun your fastest vessels. Our traders established routes you claimed were impossible. And, yes, our military created defenses that make us impossible to conquer. The Krell ambassador, a massive insectoid being, clicked his mandibles. You speak of achievements, human, but you forget the price. Your expansion threatens established territories. Your traders undercut millennium-old agreements. Your very presence disrupts the balance we have maintained for eons. Sarah nodded slowly. You mean the balance where the Vorthan Empire controls 60% of all trade routes? Where the Krell hegemony holds monopolies on 15 essential resources? Where newer species must wait centuries for basic rights in this assembly? How dare you? The Vorthan representative's skin flushed purple with rage. We built this civilization. We earned our place through millennia of sacrifice. And we earned ours through innovation, Sarah shot back. When you refused to sell us faster-than-light drives, we built our own. When you banned us from your markets, we created new ones. When you tried to limit our expansion, we found paths through space you hadn't even mapped. The Etherian ambassador, a being of pure energy contained in a humanoid-shaped field, flickered into visibility. The human speaks truth, but misses the point. It is not what humanity has achieved, but how quickly they have achieved it. They are unsettling. Sarah turned to face the Etherian. Unsettling? Because we don't accept limitations? Because we refuse to wait 10,000 years for a seat at the high table? Because we dare to challenge systems that have kept dozens of species in permanent secondary status? Because you are dangerous. The Vorthan slammed his tentacle again. In 50 years, you have gone from nothing to threatening the greatest powers in the galaxy. What will you be in another 50? 100? Will any of us be safe? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Sarah could feel the fear radiating from the assembly. Fear of change. Fear of losing power. Fear of humanity's relentless drive forward. You want to know what we'll be? Sarah asked quietly, but her voice carried to every corner of the vast hall. We'll be what we've always been. Explorers, builders, dreamers who refuse to accept that something is impossible just because it's never been done before. The Zealoty Prime Minister stood, her serpentine form rising 12 feet into the air. Pretty words, Ambassador Chun. But words will not address our concerns. The Galactic Assembly has debated this matter for months. We have reached a decision. Sarah's assistant, David Park, moved closer to her side. His hand moved subtly to the emergency beacon on his belt. Around the hall, Sarah noticed security forces taking positions. Her own bodyguards, hidden among the human delegation, tensed imperceptibly. By a vote of 8,437 to 1,512, the zealothy continued. This assembly has decided that Earth's membership in the Galactic Federation must be revoked. Humanity is hereby expelled from the galactic community. The hall erupted. Some species cheered. Others protested. The noise was deafening. But Sarah stood perfectly still, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. When the chaos finally died down, she spoke again. I see. And I assume you've already drawn up the terms of our expulsion? Trade embargoes? Travel restrictions? Military blockades? The Vorthan representative's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. All human vessels must return to Earth within 30 standard days. All human colonies must be abandoned. All trade agreements are nullified. Any human found in Federation space after the deadline will be arrested or destroyed. Furthermore, the Krell ambassador added, all human technology must be surrendered for inspection. We cannot allow you to keep weapons and devices that threaten galactic security. Sarah actually laughed. It was a short, sharp sound that made several ambassadors flinch. You want us to give you our technology? The same technology you said we stole? The same innovations you claimed were impossible? How interesting. This is not a negotiation, human, the Vorthan snarled. You have no choice. The combined fleets of the Federation will enforce this decision. Your handful of ships cannot stand against thousands. You're right, Sarah said simply. We can't fight the entire galaxy. The admission seemed to surprise the assembly. Many had expected threats, defiance, maybe even a declaration of war. Instead, the human ambassador seemed almost amused. However, Sarah continued, you've made one miscalculation. You assume we need you. You assume we'll beg to stay. You assume we'll fight to remain part of a community that fears and despises us. She touched her collar again, this time activating a different function. A holographic image appeared above the assembly floor, a map of the galaxy, with human territories highlighted in blue. Do you see these locations? Sarah pointed to dozens of spots scattered throughout the spiral arms. These aren't all our colonies. These are the systems where human traders are the primary suppliers of food, medicine, and essential technologies. These are the routes where human ships provide the only reliable transportation. These are the sectors where human peacekeepers are the only thing preventing local wars. The assembly grew quiet again. Many representatives were checking their own data pads, confirming what Sarah was showing them. We comprise less than 1% of the galactic population, Sarah said, but we handle nearly 20% of all trade. Our medical advances have saved billions of lives across hundreds of species. Our agricultural techniques feed worlds that were starving before we arrived. Our diplomatic corps has prevented 14 major wars in the last decade alone. Lies and exaggerations. The Vorthan protested, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Feel free to check the numbers yourself, Sarah offered. But while you do, let me tell you what happens next. Earth accepts your decision. We will leave the Federation. All humans will return to our space within your deadline. Our traders will cease operations in Federation territory. Our peacekeepers will stand down. Our medical missions will pack up and go home. She paused, letting the implications sink in. The Xeran colony will lose its primary food supplier within days. The Balkari system will have no one to maintain their atmospheric processors. The Outer Rim territories will have no protection against pirate raids. The Morpheus sector will lose access to the only cure for the wasting disease. Should I continue? You would abandon billions to suffering? The Etherian's form flickered with what might have been shock. Out of spite. Not spite, Sarah corrected. Simple practicality. You expelled us. We're not allowed in your space. How can we help people we are forbidden to reach? The Prism Collective harmonized in distress. This was not we did not consider. Of course you didn't, Sarah said, her voice hardening. You were too busy fearing what we might become to notice what we already are. Too focused on maintaining your ancient hierarchies to see that we've been holding half your civilization together. The decision has been made. The Vorthan representative insisted, but sweat was now beading on his gray skin. The vote cannot be reversed. We're not asking you to reverse it, Sarah said calmly. Earth accepts your decision. In fact, we thank you for it. This caused another stir of confusion. David Park stepped forward, handing Sarah a datapad. She glanced at it and nodded. I've just received confirmation from Earth, she announced. President Martinez has issued the recall order. All human citizens are to return to human space immediately. All assets in Federation territory are to be liquidated or abandoned. All treaties and agreements are considered void. Wait, the Zealoty Prime Minister interjected. Surely we can discuss transition periods. Phased withdrawals. Temporary exemptions for critical services. No, Sarah's voice was flat. You wanted us gone? We're going. Immediately and completely. But the colonies that depend on human food supplies will need to find other suppliers. The medical stations treating the wasting disease will need to find other cures. The trade routes through human-controlled space are now closed to all Federation vessels. The last statement caused an uproar. The human-controlled sectors might have been small compared to the vast Federation, but they included several crucial shortcuts and resource-rich systems. You cannot blockade Federation space. The Krell ambassador's wings buzzed angrily. That is an act of war. It's not a blockade, Sarah explained patiently. It's sovereignty. You've expelled us from your space. We're simply returning the courtesy. Any Federation vessel entering human space will be considered a hostile incursion. This is madness. The Vorthan's tentacles writhed in agitation. You'll destroy yourselves. Without access to galactic markets, without Federation protection, you'll collapse within a year. Sarah's smile grew wider. Would you like to place a bet on that? Humans do enjoy gambling, after all. She turned to address the full assembly one last time. You've made your choice, and we've made ours. But before I leave, let me share one final thought. You expelled us because you feared what humanity might become. But you should have been more worried about what would happen when we left. The holographic map above them changed, showing trade routes collapsing, supply lines failing, entire sectors going dark. This is a simulation, Sarah said, of what the next 6 months will look like without human involvement. I suggest you study it carefully. She stepped down from the platform and walked toward the exit, David and her security team forming around her. The assembly watched in stunned silence as the human delegation filed out of the hall. At the doorway, Sarah paused and looked back. Oh, and one more thing. That vote to expel us? 1,512 voted against it. We'll remember who our friends were. When you come asking for help, and you'll come, we'll remember who stood by us and who threw us out. The massive doors closed behind the human delegation with a resonant boom that echoed through the hall like a funeral bell. In the silence that followed, the assembled representatives of 1,000 worlds began to realize what they had done. The Etherian was the first to speak, its energy form dimming with worry. What have we done? The Vorthan representative, his earlier bluster gone, stared at the simulation still playing above them. Entire trade networks were collapsing like dominoes. We can manage without them. We must. We are the Galactic Federation. We existed for millennia before the humans arrived. Yes, the Zealoty Prime Minister said quietly, but can we survive now that they're leaving? Outside the assembly hall, Sarah Chun and her team made their way to the human embassy. The corridors of the massive space station were already buzzing with activity as word spread of the expulsion. Some aliens looked at them with satisfaction, others with worry, and a few with what might have been regret. Ambassador, David said quietly, Earth Command wants to know if we should begin Operation Exodus immediately. Sarah nodded. Tell them yes. And David, make sure we prioritize evacuating our people from the colonies that voted against expulsion. They'll need our help most when the Federation realizes what it's lost. Understood, Ambassador. What about our research stations in the Nexus systems? The ones working on the quantum jump drive? A gleam entered Sarah's eyes. Pack everything. Every file, every prototype, every scrap of data. The Federation wanted to keep us primitive. Let's see how they feel when we make their faster-than-light drives look like horse-drawn carriages. As they reached the embassy, Sarah turned to look back at the towering assembly hall one last time. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the chaos continuing inside. Representatives were arguing, gesticulating wildly, some even coming to blows as the reality of the situation hit home. You know they'll come begging within a year, David observed. 6 months, Sarah corrected. Maybe less when the first plagues hit the outer colonies, and they remember we were the only ones who could synthesize the vaccines quickly enough. And when they do come, Sarah's expression hardened. Then we'll negotiate. But this time it'll be on our terms. No more second-class status. No more technology restrictions. No more trade limitations. If they want humanity back, they'll have to accept us as equals. Full equals. And if they refuse, then we'll build our own galactic civilization. We've got the technology, the drive, and now we've got the motivation. The galaxy is big enough for 2 major powers. They entered the embassy to find controlled chaos. Human staff members were already packing equipment, destroying sensitive documents, and preparing for evacuation. Sarah moved through the crowds, offering encouragement and answering questions. In her private office, she found a message already waiting from President Martinez on Earth. She activated the secure communication link, and the president's face appeared on the screen. Despite the circumstances, he was smiling. Sarah, that was beautiful. Did you see their faces when you mentioned the quantum jump drive? They don't know we've already got working prototypes, Sarah replied. They still think we're 20 years away from that technology. How long until we can deploy it fleet-wide? 6 months for military vessels, maybe 8 for civilian ships. We've been preparing for this possibility since the Vorthan Empire first started making threats. President Martinez nodded approvingly. Good. And Operation Haven, ready to initiate. We've identified 73 species who've been oppressed by the current power structure. When we leave, we'll make sure they know they're welcome in human space. The Federation wants to maintain their old hierarchies? Fine. We'll build something new with everyone they've stepped on for the last 1,000 years. The military advisors are concerned about potential retaliation. Admiral Chun thinks they might try to stop our withdrawal by force. Sarah snorted. Let them try. They have numbers, but our ships are faster, our weapons are more advanced, and our pilots are human. We've been fighting against the odds our entire history. A space battle is just another impossible challenge for us to overcome. The president's expression grew serious. This is really happening, isn't it? We're leaving the Galactic Federation. No, Mr. President, Sarah corrected. We're not just leaving. We're walking away with our heads high, and we're taking half their economy with us. By the time we're done, they'll either beg us to come back or watch their precious Federation crumble while we build something better. And you think they'll choose to beg? Sarah smiled coldly. The powerful always do when they realize their power depends on those they despised. The Vorthan Empire is about to learn what Earth corporations learned centuries ago. You can't oppress your most productive members and expect to prosper. A knock at the door interrupted them. David entered with an urgent expression. Ambassador, we're getting reports from across the Federation. 3 major trade conglomerates have already declared bankruptcy just from the announcement. The Balkari system is in panic. They're offering to triple payments if we'll delay our withdrawal from their atmospheric maintenance contracts. Tell them no, Sarah said firmly. The Federation's decision was final. So is ours. There's more, David continued. 17 different species have sent private messages asking about asylum in human space, including 2 who voted for our expulsion. Document everything, the president ordered through the screen. When the history books are written, I want them to show exactly who stood where. Sarah nodded and turned back to David. What's our timeline for full evacuation? If we push hard, we can have all human citizens out of Federation space in 20 days. Equipment and non-essential materials might take the full 30. Do in 15, Sarah commanded. I want us gone so fast it makes their head spin. And, David, start broadcasting on all civilian channels. Let every human in Federation space know we're going home, and we're taking our future with us. As David left to carry out her orders, Sarah turned back to President Martinez. You realize this changes everything. No more slowly integrating into their society. No more playing by their rules. From now on, humanity charts its own course among the stars. That's what I'm counting on, the president replied. The Federation just gave us the greatest gift possible, freedom from their limitations. Let's make sure we use it well. The connection ended, and Sarah stood alone in her office, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were already changing course, heading home. Human traders were closing their shops. Human doctors were packing their medical supplies. Human engineers were shutting down systems that entire worlds depended on. The galaxy had voted to expel Earth. They thought it would weaken humanity, force them to crawl back, and accept whatever terms the Federation offered. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Sarah smiled. The real story wasn't that humanity had been expelled. The real story was that humanity had walked out without looking back. And, in doing so, they'd taken the galaxy's future with them. The Federation wanted to play politics. Earth was going to play for keeps. As she began packing her own office, Sarah couldn't help but think about the irony. The Federation had feared what humanity might become. But by expelling them, they'd guaranteed that humanity would become exactly what they feared, a power that answered to no one but themselves. The galaxy had made its choice. Now it would have to live with the consequences. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, the first human ships were already turning toward home, carrying with them the dreams, ambitions, and unstoppable drive of species that had just been given the ultimate motivation to prove everyone wrong. Captain Maria Vasquez stood on the bridge of the cargo hauler Mountain's Pride and watched the chaos unfolding on her screens. Hundreds of ships were converging on the jump point, all trying to leave Federation space at once. The evacuation order had come through just 6 hours ago, but already the human exodus was in full swing. Captain, we're getting desperate calls from the Thursian colony, her communications officer reported. They say their food supplies will run out in 10 days without our delivery. Maria's jaw tightened. She'd been running supplies to Thurxia for 8 years. The amphibian species, there were good people, always grateful, always fair in their dealings. But orders were orders. Send them our regrets, she said quietly. Tell them we're sorry. Her first officer, James Wright, moved to stand beside her. This is insane, Captain. We're abandoning billions of beings who depend on us. No, Maria Querectiv. The Federation abandoned them when they voted to expel us. We're just following their rules. On the main screen, she watched a Vorthan military cruiser trying to establish order at the jump point. The alien vessel was broadcasting demands for orderly withdrawal and proper documentation. Several human ships were already ignoring them, jumping out without clearance. Message from the Vorthan cruiser, Captain, the comm officer announced. They're ordering us to submit to inspection before departure. Maria laughed bitterly. They expel us then, want to search our ships? Tell them we'll comply with their inspection right after they kiss my Captain, James interrupted with a grin. Perhaps I should handle the diplomatic response? Perhaps you should, Maria agreed. But make sure they understand we're leaving, with or without their permission. As James composed a more diplomatic refusal, Maria studied the tactical display. 37 human vessels were already queued at the jump point. Everything from massive freighters to small personal yachts. The evacuation was happening faster than anyone had anticipated. Her navigator, a young woman named Chen Lu, looked up from her console. Captain, I'm plotting alternative jump routes. If we use the Nexus 7 corridor, we can bypass this checkpoint entirely. Do it, Maria ordered, and broadcast the route to all human vessels. Let's give our people options. That corridor is technically restricted, James pointed out. Only military vessels are supposed to. They expelled us, James. Their restrictions no longer apply. Maria turned to address her entire bridge crew. Listen up, everyone. I know this is hard. I know we're leaving behind friends, trading partners, people who need us. But Earth needs us more right now. We're going to get our cargo home. Then we're coming back for any human who needs evacuation. Clear. A chorus of agreements rang out across the bridge. Maria felt a surge of pride. Her crew was solid, reliable, human. Captain Chun-Lu's voice was sharp with alarm. 3 more Vorthan cruisers just jumped in. They're moving to blockade the jump point. Maria studied the display. The Vorthans were trying to create a checkpoint, probably to search departing ships for stolen technology or to slow the evacuation. Several human vessels were already altering course, unsure how to proceed. Open a channel to all human ships, Maria commanded. Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Maria Vasquez of the Mountain's Pride to all human vessels. The Vorthans are trying to delay our lawful departure. I remind you all that we are no longer bound by Federation law. We have been expelled. We owe them nothing. I'm sharing alternative jump coordinates now. Follow me if you want to get home. She nodded to Chun-Lu, who transmitted the Nexus 7 route to the assembled ships. Almost immediately, several vessels began changing course to follow the Mountain's Pride. The Vorthan commander is hailing us, the comm officer reported. He's ordering us to halt and prepare for boarding. How many weapons does he have locked on us? Maria asked calmly. None yet, Captain, but they're charging their targeting systems. Maria smiled coldly. James, remember that little surprise we installed last year? The one we bought from that Krellian arms dealer. The quantum phase shields. James grinned. The ones that are definitely illegal in Federation space. Those exact ones. Bring them online. The bridge hummed with energy as the illegal shield system activated. On the tactical display, the Vorthan cruisers immediately began broadcasting alarm signals. Quantum phase shields were military-grade technology that humans weren't supposed to have access to. Vorthan commander is screaming about treaty violations, the comm officer said, try not to laugh. Tell them we're not Federation members anymore. Their treaties don't apply. Maria turned to her pilot. Take us through. Best speed. The Mountain's Pride surged forward, its enhanced engines, another illegal modification, pushing them past the scrambling Vorthan vessels. Behind them, other human ships followed their lead, ignoring the increasingly frantic orders to halt. They're powering weapons. Chun-Lu warned. They won't fire, Maria said confidently. They're bullies, not warriors. And they know that if they fire on evacuating civilians, every human ship in the galaxy will remember it. She was right. The Vorthan cruisers tracked them with weapons, but didn't fire. As the Mountain's Pride reached the jump point, Maria took one last look at the Federation space station they were leaving behind. 8 years of her life spent trading in this sector. 8 years of building relationships, establishing routes, making friends among the stars. All gone because of fear and prejudice. Jumping in 3, 2, 1 jump. The stars elongated and vanished as they entered hyperspace. Around her, the bridge crew let out a collective breath they'd been holding. That was close, James muttered. No, Maria said. That was just the beginning. The Federation thinks they can control our evacuation, slow it down, maybe even reverse their decision if they delay us long enough. They're about to learn different. Captain, Chun-Lu spoke up. I've been analyzing the evacuation patterns. At current rates, we'll have all human citizens out of Federation space in 12 days. But, there are humans in mixed families. Human doctors in critical positions. Human engineers maintaining essential systems. Not all of them can just leave. Maria's expression softened. This was the hard part. The Federation's expulsion order didn't account for the thousands of humans who had married aliens, who had children with them, who had built lives that couldn't be easily abandoned. Earth Command has protocols for that, she said. Mixed families can apply for asylum in human space. Any alien who wants to come with their human family members is welcome. As for the essential personnel, she sighed. They'll have to make their own choices. Incoming priority message from Earth, the comm officer announced. Admiral Chen wants to speak with you, Captain. Maria straightened her uniform. Admiral Lisa Chun was coordinating the entire evacuation effort. If she was calling a Mountain's Pride directly, something was up. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. She looked tired but determined, her gray hair pulled back in a severe bun. Captain Vasquez, good work getting through the Vorthan blockade. I'm spreading word of your alternate route to other sectors. Happy to help, Admiral. What do you need from us? I need you to make a detour on your way back to Earth. The colony on Kepler, 442b, is requesting immediate evacuation. They've got 3,000 humans and about 500 aliens who want to come with them. Kepler, 442b. James pulled up the star charts. That's 2 days out of our way, Captain. It's also deep in Zealoty territory, Maria noted. They voted for expulsion. They might not let us pass. Admiral Chin's expression hardened. That's why I'm sending you, Maria. The Mountain's pride has a reputation for getting through difficult situations. And with those phase shields of yours, yes, I know about them. You might be the only ship that can make it. Maria looked at her crew. She saw determination in their faces, mixed with worry. Taking on a rescue mission in hostile territory wasn't what they'd signed up for. But leaving humans behind wasn't an option either. Send us the coordinates, Admiral. We'll get them out. I knew I could count on you. Chin out. As the Admiral's image faded, Maria turned to her crew. All right, people. Looks like we're playing hero today. James, calculate the best route to Kepler, 442b. Chin-Lu, I want constant scans for Zealoty patrols. Everyone else, prepare for possible combat. Captain, her chief engineer's voice came over the comm. If we're going into Zealoty space, I'd like permission to bring the other surprise online. Maria raised an eyebrow. You mean the one we definitely didn't buy from those human scientists on Proxima Station? The very same. The microjump drive that absolutely doesn't exist. Do it, Maria authorized. If we need to run, I want to be able to disappear before they can blink. As her crew prepared for the dangerous mission ahead, Maria allowed herself a moment of reflection. The Federation had no idea what they'd unleashed. They thought humans were just clever merchants and eager colonists. They were about to discover that humans were also rescuers, innovators, and, when pushed, warriors who wouldn't leave anyone behind. The Mountain's pride changed course, heading deeper into what was now enemy territory. Behind them, the great evacuation continued. Ships of every size and class were streaming toward human space, carrying not just people, but the future of humanity among the stars. On the Federation capital world, Supreme Chancellor Vorth stood in his private office, watching reports stream in from across the galaxy. His tentacles writhed with agitation as he processed the data. 70% of our medical stations are reporting critical staff shortages, his aide reported. The humans are taking all their personnel, including those in essential positions. They can't do that. Vorth slammed a tentacle on his desk. There are regulations, contracts, legal obligations. Sir, the aide said carefully, we expelled them. Our own lawyers are saying the expulsion voids all contracts and obligations. Vorth turned to stare out his window at the glittering lights of the capital city. For 3,000 years, the Vorthan Empire had been the dominant force in the Federation. They had built this civilization, established its laws, maintained its order. The humans had been here for barely half a century. How had it come to this? What about the trade routes, he asked, collapsing faster than projected. The humans aren't just leaving, sir. They're taking their entire infrastructure with them. Navigation beacons, communication relays, even the trading posts they built. By tomorrow, 37 major routes will be impassable. Surely the other species can compensate. With respect, sir, they can't. The Krellians are already reporting food shortages. The Etherians can't maintain their energy distribution networks without human technicians. The Therxians, the aide paused. What about the Therxians? They're threatening to withdraw from the Federation if we don't restore food shipments within 15 days. Vortha's chromatic skin shifted through several colors of distress. The Therxians were a minor species, but if they left, others might follow. The Federation could fragment. Contact the human ambassador. Tell her we're willing to discuss temporary extensions. Transition periods. Surely they'll see reason, sir. Ambassador Chin left the capital 6 hours ago. The human embassy is empty. They've burned all their documents and taken every piece of technology with them. Then contact Earth directly. We've tried, sir. They're not accepting diplomatic communications from Federation officials. Vorth felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Fear. Not fear of conquest or war, but fear of irrelevance. Fear that the empire his species had built was crumbling not from external attack, but from the withdrawal of those they dismissed. Double the patrols at all jump points, he ordered. No human ship leaves without inspection. Maybe if we slow them down, sir. I have to report, the humans aren't using just the official jump points anymore. They're taking restricted routes, military corridors, even theoretical passages our scientists said were too dangerous to use. And, sir, their ships are faster than our intelligence reported. Much faster. How is that possible? We don't know, sir. It seems they've been hiding their true technological capabilities. The trade ships we thought were simple cargo haulers appear to have military-grade engines and shields. Some are using technology we don't even recognize. Vortha's tentacles went still. For 50 years, the humans had been among them. Trading, learning, integrating. Or so the Federation had thought. Now it seemed they'd been preparing, building, advancing in secret while pretending to be the eager newcomers grateful for acceptance. Sir, there's more. Intelligence reports that several minor species have been in secret negotiations with Earth. The Yolani, the Mortiki, even the banished clans. They're all asking about asylum in human space. They wouldn't dare, sir, with respect. Why wouldn't they? The humans are offering them full citizenship, equal rights, access to technology without restrictions. Everything the Federation has denied them for millennia. Vorth turned away from the window. His empire, his legacy, was unraveling. And it was happening so fast he could barely process it. Schedule an emergency session of the High Council, he ordered. We need to reconsider. I'm afraid that's impossible, sir. 3 council members have already left for their homeworlds to deal with local crises caused by the human withdrawal. 2 others are refusing to attend any sessions until, and I quote, the Vorthan Empire admits its catastrophic error. Then we'll manage without them. The Vorthan Empire has stood for 3,000 years. We won't be brought down by one expelled species. But even as he said the words, Vorth knew they rang hollow. The humans weren't trying to bring down the Empire. They were simply leaving. And somehow that was worse. Back in the mountain's pride, Captain Vasquez and her crew dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. Immediately, alarms began blaring. 3 Zealothi cruisers in orbit around Kepler, 442b, Chun Lu reported. They're broadcasting warnings to stay away. Any word from the colony? Maria asked. Coming through now, Captain. Audio only. A human voice, tight with stress, filled the bridge. This is Director Thompson of the Kepler mining colony. Thank God you're here. The Zealothi have been blocking all departures for the last 8 hours. They say we can't leave until we train replacements for the mining operations. How long would that take? Maria asked. Years, Captain. The systems here are human-designed. No other species has our intuitive understanding of the quantum resonance techniques we use. Maria smiled grimly. Another example of human innovation that the Federation had taken for granted. Can you get your people to the spaceport? Already there, Captain. 3,000 humans, 543 aliens who want to evacuate with us. Mostly Yolani and Mortiki workers and their families. But the Zealothi have grounded all our ships. Leave that to us, Maria said. She turned to James. Battle stations. Prep the microjump drive. We're going to need to be creative. The Zealothi commander is hailing us, the comm officer announced. On screen, the Zealothi commander appeared, her serpentine form coiled in what Maria recognized as an aggressive posture. Human vessel, you are in violation of Zealothi space. Turn back immediately or face the consequences. Commander, I'm here on a humanitarian mission to evacuate human citizens as required by the Federation expulsion order. Surely you won't interfere with us following Federation law. The Zealothi's scales rattled in annoyance. Those humans have contractual obligations. They cannot leave until those obligations are fulfilled. Contract with expelled species are void, Maria stated flatly. That's Federation law, Commander. Or are you saying Zealothi space doesn't recognize Federation authority? It was a trap, and the Zealothi knew it. If she said yes, she'd be admitting to insurrection. If she said no, she'd have to let the humans go. The workers may leave, the Zealoty finally hissed. But all equipment and technology remains. It is Zealoty property. Agreed, Maria said easily. Too easily. The Zealoty commander's eyes narrowed with suspicion, but she gave the order. Stand down, weapons. Allow the human transport to approach the colony. As the Mountain's Pride descended toward the planet, James whispered, Captain, we're not really leaving the mining equipment, are we? It's worth billions. Of course not, Maria whispered back. But she didn't specify what condition we had to leave it in. On the surface, Director Thompson was way ahead of them. As the refugees boarded transport shuttles, human engineers were busy throughout the mining complex. They weren't taking the equipment. That would violate the agreement. They were simply removing key components. Control chips, processing algorithms, quantum resonance calibrators, all the pieces that made the equipment actually work. Zealoty cruisers are scanning us, Chun-Lu warned as the shuttles began arriving. They're getting suspicious. How long until everyone's aboard? Maria asked. 15 minutes, Captain. We don't have 15 minutes. Maria studied the tactical display. The Zealoty ships were moving to surround them. Prep the micro-jump. We're going to need to make this fast. The first shuttles docked, refugees pouring into the Mountain's Pride's cargo bays. Families clutching possessions, workers still in their mining gear, children crying with confusion and fear. Maria's heart went out to them, forced from their homes because of politics and prejudice. Captain, Thompson's voice came over the comm. Last shuttle launching now. But the Zealoty ground forces are entering the complex. They're going to realize what we did to the equipment. How long until they figure it out? Maybe 5 minutes. 10 if they're slow. The last shuttle was halfway to the ship when alarms started blaring. The Zealoty commander's furious face appeared on screen. Treachery. You've sabotaged the mining equipment. Return the components immediately or face destruction. I'm sorry, Commander, Maria said calmly. We only agreed to leave the equipment. You didn't specify it had to be functional. All weapons lock on, the Zealoty screamed. Prepare to fire. Last shuttle docking now. James reported. Micro-jump drive charged and ready. Chun-Lu added. Maria gripped her command chair. This was the moment of truth. The micro-jump was untested technology, capable of short hyperspace hops that should be impossible. If it worked, they'd vanish before the Zealoty could fire. If it didn't, all hands brace for micro-jump. Maria commanded. Execute. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then, reality bent. The Mountain's Pride didn't just enter hyperspace. It skipped across it like a stone on water. In less than a heartbeat, they were 1,000 kilometers away, then 10,000, then out of the system entirely. The bridge erupted in cheers. They'd done it. 3,000 humans and 500 aliens rescued from under the noses of the Zealoty fleet. Set course for Earth, Maria ordered. Best speed. And comm officer? Send a message to Admiral Chun. Tell her the package is delivered and we're coming home. As the Mountain's Pride accelerated toward human space, Maria allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Federation thought expelling humanity would weaken them. Instead, it was revealing just how strong humans had become. In her cargo bays, 3,500 refugees were starting new lives. The mining equipment on Kepler 442b would never work again without human expertise. And somewhere in the galaxy, the Zealoty were learning what countless human opponents throughout history had discovered. You could defeat humans. You could expel them. You could try to control them. But you could never keep them down. The evacuation continued across the galaxy. On 100 worlds, human ships were lifting off, carrying people and dreams toward a new future. Trading posts were abandoned. Medical stations shut down. Research facilities went dark. And on every world they left, the remaining population began to realize just how much they had depended on the species they'd expelled. On Thurxia, food riots began within days. The amphibian population had grown dependent on human agricultural imports. Local farmers couldn't produce enough to feed everyone. On Balkari, the atmosphere processors started failing. Without human technicians to maintain the delicate balance, the terraformed atmosphere began reverting to its original toxic state. In the Outer Rim, pirate attacks increased tenfold. The human peacekeeping force had been the only thing keeping the raiders at bay. Now, with no protection, entire colonies were being ransacked. The wasting disease, held in check by human-synthesized vaccines, began spreading again through the Morpheus sector. Thousands died in the first week alone. But perhaps the greatest shock came from the economic collapse. The Federation's economists had gravely underestimated human involvement in their markets. It wasn't just the 20% of direct trade. It was the innovation, the efficiency improvements, the creative solutions to problems that other species had considered unsolvable. Without humans, the entire system began grinding to a halt. On the Federation capital, emergency sessions were being called daily. The High Council chambers, once filled with confident pronouncements, now echoed with panic and recriminations. The Yelani Confederacy has announced they're withdrawing from the Federation, the Herald announced. They've accepted Earth's offer of alliance and are relocating their entire population to human space. Treason, Chancellor Vorth roared. Send the fleet. Blockade their world. With what ships? The Krell ambassador's wings buzzed with agitation. Half our fleet is dealing with internal crises. The other half is trying to maintain order as systems collapse. We don't have ships to spare for punitive expeditions. The Mortiki have also announced their intention to withdraw, another herald added. And the banished clans are in open negotiation with Earth. The Etherian ambassador flickered into visibility. Perhaps we were hasty in our decision. Hasty. The Prism Collective's harmonic voice carried undertones of discord. We have created a catastrophe. The humans were the binding force we didn't recognize. Without them, we fragment. We are the Galactic Federation. Vorth insisted. We existed before the humans. We'll exist after them. Will we? The Zealothi Prime Minister's question hung in the air. My world is in chaos. The mining operations have ground to a halt. Our economy is collapsing. My people demand action, and the only action they want is to beg the humans to return. Never. Vortha's tentacles writhed. The Vorthan Empire does not beg. Then, the Vorthan Empire will fall, the Zealothi said bluntly. As will we all if we don't swallow our pride and admit our mistake. The debate raged on, but the outcome was becoming inevitable. The galaxy had voted to expel Earth. Now, they were learning the price of that decision. And, in human space, preparations were underway for a different future. The quantum jump drive technology was being rolled out across the fleet. Abandoned Federation technology was being reverse-engineered and improved. Alliances were being forged with species who had been oppressed for millennia. Humanity had been expelled from the galaxy's ruling body. But they were about to build something better. Something that didn't rely on ancient hierarchies or species-based discrimination. Something that valued innovation over tradition, merit over birthright. The Federation wanted humanity gone. They were about to learn that sometimes getting what you wish for is the worst thing that can happen. Admiral Lisa Chun stood in the command center of Fortress Earth, humanity's newest and most powerful space station. Through the massive viewport, she could see the steady stream of ships arriving from Federation space. The evacuation was ahead of schedule. In just 10 days, they'd managed to extract nearly 90% of all humans from Federation territory. But it was what came with them that truly mattered. Admiral, the science vessel Aurora just docked, her aide reported. They're carrying the entire quantum research database from the Nexus Institute, plus 47 of the Federation's top scientists who've requested asylum. Lisa smiled. The brain drain was even better than they'd hoped. It turned out that humans weren't the only ones feeling stifled by the Federation's rigid hierarchies. Brilliant minds from a dozen species were fleeing to human space, bringing knowledge and expertise with them. Make sure they're given full access to our facilities, she ordered, and have security run background checks. I want to make sure none of them are spies. Yes, Admiral. Also, President Martinez is ready for the strategy meeting. Lisa nodded and made her way to the secure conference room. Inside, Earth's military and civilian leadership had gathered, both in person and through holographic projection. President Martinez stood at the head of the table, his expression serious but confident. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began as Lisa took her seat. "In 10 days, we've accomplished what the Federation thought would take us years. The evacuation is nearly complete. Now we need to decide what comes next." General Harrison, Earth's senior military commander, activated a holographic display. The Federation is in chaos. Their economy is crashing, multiple systems are experiencing infrastructure failures, and at least 12 species are considering withdrawal. They're weak and getting weaker. "Are you suggesting we attack?" Dr. Emily Wong, head of the Science Council, sounded shocked. "No," Harrison replied. "I'm suggesting we prepare for them to attack us. Desperate governments do desperate things. When they realize we're not coming back, when their situation gets bad enough, they might try to force us back." "Let them try," Admiral Chen interjected. "Our fleet is smaller, but ship for ship, we outclass them. The quantum jump drive alone give us a tactical advantage they can't match." "It's not just about military strength," President Martinez said. "We need to think bigger. The Federation is collapsing because they built a system based on oppression and stagnation. We have the opportunity to build something better." Maria Vasquez, recently promoted to Commodore for her rescue efforts, spoke up through the hologram. "We're already seeing it happen, Mr. President. The Yalani, the Mortiki, the banished clans, they're not just fleeing to us. They're bringing entire cultures, technologies, ways of thinking that the Federation suppressed. We're becoming a melting pot on a galactic scale." "Which brings us to the proposal," Martinez said. He gestured to Dr. Wong, who stood and activated a new display. "We're calling it the Terran Alliance," she explained. "Not just human, but an alliance of all species who value freedom, innovation, and equality. We've already received applications from 18 species, with more coming every day." The display showed a star map, with human space at the center and expanding rings showing potential alliance territories. "The Yalani are offering their manufacturing expertise," Wong continued. "The Mortiki have unparalleled knowledge of subspace mechanics. The banished clans have survival and combat techniques that put our special forces to shame. And that's just the beginning." "What about resources?" General Harrison asked. "The Federation controlled most of the galaxy's raw materials." "That's where things get interesting," Admiral Chun said with a grin. "Remember all those worthless systems the Federation let us colonize? The ones they said had no value? Our surveys show they're rich in rare elements the Federation never bothered to look for because they didn't match their traditional extraction methods." "Human ingenuity," President Martinez said with satisfaction. "They gave us the scraps, not realizing we could turn scraps into treasures." A communication alert interrupted the meeting. Lisa checked her console and frowned. "We have an incoming message from the Federation. Chancellor Vorth himself." "Put him through," Martinez ordered. "Let's see what he wants." The Vorthan leader appeared on the main screen. His usual purple coloration was mottled with gray patches, a sign of extreme stress in his species. His tentacles moved sluggishly. "President Martinez," Vorth began without preamble, "I am contacting you to discuss the terms of humanity's return to the Federation." The room erupted in surprised murmurs. Martinez held up a hand for silence. "I wasn't aware we were discussing a return, Chancellor. The Federation expelled us. We're simply complying with your decision." "The situation has evolved," Vorth said carefully. "The High Council recognizes that perhaps the expulsion was premature. We're willing to discuss reinstatement under modified terms, such as humanity would be granted full member status, access to all trade routes, positions on the High Council. In exchange, you would resume your previous obligations and cease accepting Federation citizens into your space." Lisa could see the trap immediately. They wanted humanity back, but only under their control. And they definitely didn't want the alliance Earth was building. President Martinez leaned back in his chair. "That's a generous offer, Chancellor, but I'm afraid we must decline." Vorth's skin flushed darker. "You would refuse reinstatement? Do you understand what you're giving up?" "We're giving up restrictions, limitations, and second-class citizenship," Martinez replied. "We're giving up a system that stifles innovation and maintains power through oppression. So yes, Chancellor, we understand exactly what we're giving up, and we're happy to do so. This is a mistake. Vorth's voice carried a threatening undertone. The Federation has stood for millennia. You've existed independently for days. When your resources run out, when your allies abandon you, when you face the true dangers of the galaxy alone, we'll face them as free beings, Martinez interrupted. Thank you for the offer, Chancellor. But Earth's answer is no. We will not return to the Federation. Not now. Not ever. Then you have chosen war. Vorth snarled. No, Martinez said calmly. We've chosen freedom. There's a difference. If the Federation attacks us, we'll defend ourselves. But we have no interest in war. We're too busy building a better future. He cut the connection before Vorth could respond. The room sat in silence for a moment before General Harrison spoke. He'll attack. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Then, we'll be ready, Admiral Chen said. The quantum jump drives are installed on 60% of our combat vessels. By the time they move against us, we'll have full coverage. It's not just about military preparation, Dr. Wang added. We need to fast-track the alliance. The more species that join us, the stronger we become. President Martinez nodded. Agreed. Admiral Chen, I want you to oversee the integration of allied species into our defense forces. General Harrison, prepare contingency plans for a Federation assault. Dr. Wang, accelerate the technology sharing programs with our new allies. As the meeting broke up, Lisa lingered, staring at the star map. In just 10 days, humanity had gone from an expelled member of a vast federation to the center of a growing alliance. It was happening so fast it made her head spin. Second thoughts, Admiral? Martinez asked, noticing her expression. No, sir. Just marveling at how quickly things change. A month ago, we were trying to fit into their system. Now we're building our own. That's humanity for you, Martinez smiled. We adapt. We overcome. We thrive. The Federation forgot that about us. They're about to get a reminder. On the other side of the galaxy, Chancellor Vorth stood in an emergency session of what remained of the High Council. Several seats were empty. Representatives were called to deal with crises on their homeworlds. They refused, he announced. The humans have rejected our generous offer of reinstatement. Perhaps because it wasn't generous enough, the Therian suggested. We offered them what we should have given them originally. They've moved beyond needing our approval. Impossible. They're one species. We are thousands. We were thousands, the Zealothi Prime Minister corrected. 18 species have already announced their withdrawal. More considering it. At this rate, the Federation will be nothing but the core empires within a year. Then we must act. Vorth's tentacles slammed against the podium. Military action. Blockade Earth. Force them to return. With what fleet? The Krell ambassador's wings drooped. Half our ships are dealing with internal conflicts. A quarter are trying to maintain failing infrastructure. What remains isn't enough to challenge a determined human defense, especially with their new technology. New technology they stole from us. Did they? The Prism Collective hummed discordantly. Or did they develop it themselves while we assumed they were too primitive? We never asked how they achieved so much so quickly. We just assumed they must have cheated because the alternative, that they were simply better at innovation, was too threatening to consider. The debate descended into arguments and recriminations. Some called for military action, others for renewed negotiations. A few even suggested formally apologizing and begging humanity to return. But while they argued, the situation continued to deteriorate. On Vorthan Prime, the Empire's capital world, riots had begun. The population, accustomed to abundance provided by human efficiency, was facing shortages for the first time in centuries. The government's response was to crack down, which only made things worse. On Krell, the hive minds were experiencing something unprecedented: disagreement. Some clusters wanted to attack Earth. Others wanted to join them. The consensus that had defined their species for millennia was breaking down. The Zealothi were faring even worse. Their economy, heavily dependent on rare mineral extraction, had ground to a halt. The human-designed mining equipment couldn't be repaired or replaced. Attempts to reverse engineer it failed because they didn't understand the underlying quantum principles. And through it all, reports kept coming in of species defecting to the growing Terran Alliance. Not just the minor species who had been oppressed, but members of the major empires who saw which way the wind was blowing. Commander Thrak of the Vorthan military was one such defector. He arrived at Fortress Earth with his entire battle group, 12 warships, and their crews. "Why?" Admiral Chun asked during his debriefing. "Why betray your empire?" Thrak's tentacles moved in what Chun had learned was equivalent to a shrug. "Because I'm a student of history, Admiral. Empires that refuse to adapt always fall. The Federation is dying because it values tradition over innovation, hierarchy over merit. I've seen what humans can do. I'd rather be part of the future than defender of a dying past. And your crews feel the same. We've all seen human soldiers in action, fought alongside human peacekeepers, worked with human engineers. We know that whatever you're building will be better than what we're leaving behind." Chun studied the Vorthan commander. He was taking an enormous risk. If the Terran Alliance failed, he'd be executed as a traitor. But if it succeeded, "Welcome to the Alliance, Commander. We'll find good use for your skills." Similar scenes played out across human space. Scientists, soldiers, merchants, engineers, beings who had been stifled by the Federation's rigid structures were fleeing to humanity's banner. Each brought knowledge, skills, perspectives that enriched the growing alliance. Dr. Wong's research teams were making breakthroughs daily by combining human creativity with alien knowledge. The more tiki understanding of subspace, combined with human quantum mechanics, had produced a new generation of sensors that could detect ships in hyperspace. Yolani manufacturing techniques, enhanced by human automation, were producing equipment at unprecedented speeds. But perhaps the most significant development came from an unexpected source. Deep in Federation space, on a world called Terminus, something extraordinary was happening. The planet had been a dumping ground, a place where the Federation exiled criminals, dissidents, and undesirables from 100 species. With the Federation's attention focused on the human crisis, Terminus had been forgotten, until they sent a message to Earth. "This is the Free Council of Terminus." The transmission began. "We are 2 million beings whom the Federation rejected. We have heard of your alliance, your acceptance of all who seek freedom. We wish to join you." The message included coordinates and a warning. The Federation had deployed a weapons platform in orbit to prevent anyone from leaving Terminus. They needed help. In the command center, President Martinez looked at his advisors. "Opinions. It could be a trap," General Harrison warned. "Bait to draw our forces into Federation space. Or it could be 2 million potential allies," Dr. Wong countered. "Think of the diversity of skills and knowledge they might possess." "I say we go," Admiral Chin said firmly. "If it's a trap, we'll spring it and show the Federation what happens when they threaten us. If it's genuine, we gain millions of new citizens and show the galaxy that the Terran Alliance doesn't abandon anyone." Martinez made his decision. Prepare a rescue fleet. Full military escort. If Terminus wants freedom, we'll give it to them. The mission to Terminus would become legendary in Alliance history. 50 human warships, equipped with quantum jump drives, appeared in the system without warning. The Federation weapons platform, designed to keep unarmed prisoners from escaping, was woefully inadequate against a modern military force. Admiral Chun, commanding from the dreadnought Prometheus, gave the platform one chance to surrender. When they refused, she demonstrated the power of human weapons technology. The platform was reduced to debris in minutes. On the surface of Terminus, millions of beings watched in awe as human shuttles descended, not to conquer or control, but to offer evacuation to anyone who wanted it. The diversity was staggering. Political dissidents who had spoken against the Federation's oppression, scientists who had pursued forbidden research, artists whose work was deemed disruptive, philosophers who questioned the established order, all united by their rejection of Federation conformity. Among them was someone who would become crucial to future events. Sulan, an Etherian physicist who had been exiled for proposing that the Federation's understanding of physics was fundamentally flawed. "Your quantum jump drives," she told Dr. Wong during the evacuation, "are just the beginning. I can show you how to fold space itself. Not jump through it, but bend it to your will." That's impossible, Wong said automatically, then caught herself. Or at least, the Federation says it's impossible. Sulan's energy form flickered in what might have been amusement. The Federation says many things are impossible. That's why they're failing while you're succeeding. You humans don't accept impossible. The evacuation of Terminus took 3 days. When it was complete, 2 million beings had chosen to join the Terran Alliance. The psychological impact on the Federation was devastating. Their prison world had chosen humanity over them. Chancellor Vorth received the news in his private chambers. His skin had faded to an unhealthy gray, and his tentacles barely moved. Around him, pads displayed economic reports, military assessments, diplomatic communications, all bearing bad news. Chancellor, his aide entered hesitantly. The Krell ambassador is here. He says it's urgent. Vorth didn't look up. Show him in. The massive insectoid entered, his wings buzzing with agitation. Vorth, we need to discuss reality. Reality? Vorth's voice was bitter. Reality is that we're dying. The humans have taken everything. No, the Krell corrected. We gave it away. We expelled them out of fear and pride. Now we're paying the price. We can still fight. With what? The Krell's mandibles clicked sharply. Commander Thrak defected with an entire battle group. The Zealothi fleet is guarding their failing colonies. My own hive clusters are in disagreement for the first time in our history. We don't have the unity or strength for war. Then what do you suggest? The Krell was quiet for a moment. Survival. The Federation as we knew it is dead. But we can still save our individual species. Open negotiations with the Terran Alliance. Not as the Federation demanding terms, but as individual worlds seeking partnership. Never. Vorth's tentacles finally showed animation, writhing in anger. The Vorthan Empire has stood for 3,000 years. We will not bow to upstart apes. Then, the Vorthan Empire will fall alone, the Krell said bluntly. The Krell hegemony is opening communications with Earth tomorrow. We'll seek terms for joining their alliance. Vorth stared at his longtime ally in shock. You would betray everything we've built? No, Vorth. I would save my people from the consequences of our arrogance. The humans didn't destroy the Federation. We did the moment we voted to expel them. They simply revealed how fragile our power always was. The Krell left without another word. Vorth sat alone in his chambers, surrounded by the evidence of collapse. One by one, the lights on his communication console went dark as species withdrew from the Federation network. In human space, the Terran Alliance was facing its own challenges, but they were the challenges of growth, not decay. The influx of refugees and defectors was straining resources, but human adaptability was rising to meet the challenge. On Mars, entire cities were being constructed using Yolani manufacturing techniques. The Red Planet, long a symbol of human ambition, was becoming a true second Earth. In the asteroid belt, Mortiki engineers were working with human miners to extract resources using methods that would have seemed like magic to the Federation. On the moons of Jupiter, Banish Clan warriors were training alongside human special forces, creating a combined unit that could operate in any environment. And in research facilities across human space, the greatest minds of a dozen species were working together, breaking down barriers the Federation had maintained for millennia. Dr. Wong stood in her lab, watching human and alien scientists collaborate. No hierarchy based on species. No restrictions on what questions could be asked. No limits on what was possible. Dr. Wong, Sulan approached, her energy form bright with excitement. We've done it. The prototype is ready. Wong followed the Etherian to a testing chamber where a small probe sat on a platform. It looked unremarkable, but Wong knew better. Full drive? She asked. Better than quantum jump. Instead of moving through space, we fold it. Instantaneous travel anywhere in the galaxy. The Federation said it was impossible because it violated their understanding of physics. But their understanding was wrong. Wong felt a shiver run down her spine. With technology like this, the Terran Alliance wouldn't just match the Federation. They'd surpass it entirely. How soon can we scale it up? With the combined expertise here? 6 months for small ships. A year for capital vessels. Wong smiled. The Federation had expelled humanity to prevent them from becoming too powerful. Instead, they'd created the conditions for humanity to achieve things that would have taken centuries within the restrictive Federation system. As news of the breakthrough spread, more species reached out to the Terran Alliance. The trickle of defections became a flood. Entire sectors began declaring independence from the Federation and requesting alliance membership. The galaxy was transforming. The old order, based on ancient hierarchies and enforced stagnation, was crumbling. In its place, something new was rising. Something that valued innovation over tradition, merit over birthright, freedom over control. And at the center of it all was Earth, the planet the Federation had dismissed as primitive, the species they'd tried to contain, the civilization they'd expelled in fear. Humanity had walked out without looking back, and in doing so, they'd changed the galaxy forever. But the story was far from over. In the shadows of Federation space, forces were mobilizing. Some sought to destroy the Terran Alliance before it grew too powerful. Others wanted to join it, but feared the consequences. And on Earth, leaders were planning for a future that no one could have imagined just months before. A future where humanity wasn't just part of the galactic community, but leading it into a new age. 6 months had passed since humanity's expulsion from the Galactic Federation. In that time, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The Terran Alliance now encompassed 43 species and controlled nearly a third of known space. The Federation, once mighty and eternal, controlled less than half of what it once had. On board the flagship Liberty, Admiral Chun stood before a tactical display showing the current state of the galaxy. Blue marked Alliance territory, red showed Federation space, and a growing amount of yellow indicated independent systems that had broken away from both powers. The Krell hegemony officially joined us yesterday, her aide reported. That's another 8 systems and one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces. Chun nodded. The Krell defection had been a massive blow to the Federation. Without their hive mind coordination abilities, Federation fleet movements had become chaotic and uncoordinated. What about the Vorthan Empire? Still holding out, Admiral. Chancellor Vorth refuses all communication attempts. Intelligence suggests their homeworld is under martial law. Food riots in the capital. Infrastructure failing across their territory. Chun felt a twinge of pity. The Vorthans had been so proud, so certain of their superiority. Now they were watching their 3,000-year empire crumble because they couldn't adapt. Admiral, the communications officer interrupted. Priority message from President Martinez. He's calling a war council. Chin's expression hardened. They've been expecting this. Intelligence had been reporting massive military buildups in what remained of Federation space. The dying empire was preparing one last desperate gambit. The virtual war room materialized around her as she connected to the secure network. President Martinez stood at the center, surrounded by military leaders, scientists, and key allies from other species. Ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished beings, Martinez began. We have confirmation. The Federation is planning a massive assault. They're calling it Operation Restoration. General Harrison activated a holographic display showing Federation fleet movements. They're gathering everything they have. We estimate over 3,000 vessels. Their plan seems to be a direct assault on Earth itself. Cut off the head, and they think the Alliance will crumble. How long do we have? Asked Commander Thrak, the Vorthan defector who now served as an Alliance admiral. 6 weeks at their current pace. Maybe less if they push their engines. Dr. Wong spoke up from her position. The full drive technology is ready for deployment, but we only have it installed on 200 ships so far. We need more time. Time we don't have, Martinez said grimly. We need to prepare for the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Chun, what's our current fleet strength? 800 combat vessels with quantum jump capability. Another 400 conventional ships from our allies. Against 3,000. Chun didn't finish. The numbers spoke for themselves. We have technological superiority, Sulon, the Therian physicist, interjected. Our shields are stronger, our weapons more precise. And with the full drive ships, We have strategic advantages they can't match. It won't be enough, General Harrison said bluntly. Not against those numbers. We need a different approach. What do you suggest? Martinez asked. Harrison smiled coldly. We don't wait for them to come to us. We take the fight to them. Hit them before they're ready. Disrupt their gathering points. Make them fight on multiple fronts. That's aggressive, Dr. Wong said uncertainly. It's human, Chen corrected. Throughout our history, when faced with superior numbers, we've won through audacity. Washington crossing the Delaware. The RAF in the Battle of Britain. The Mars Rebellion. We don't play by their rules. Martinez considered this. Can we do it without becoming the aggressors? We've built the alliance on principles of freedom and defense. I won't throw that away for a tactical advantage. We don't need to, Frack suggested. My intelligence network in Vorthen space has reported something interesting. The Federation isn't.